Many regard the RX 460 as the worst of AMD's Polaris-based graphics cards. I mean, it has close competition with the RX 550, but much of a muchness. Now, the card we have specifically here is the 2GB model, and in today's video, we're going to be seeing how bad it is in 2026. Anyway, let's roll that intro. Recently, I've been doing a bit of knife battling on eBay, and the RX 460 we're going to be looking at today, the Sapphire version, normally that'd sound fancy, but it really isn't, was picked up as part of a £45 parts bundle that came with a power supply, old i5, I think it's a 4460, 8GB of DDR5, not DDR5, DDR3, god, that'd be nice, and a motherboard. Now, along with this, I also picked up a bit of a mad one. It was a Z790 motherboard, but it had a few bent pins. I fixed it up, and as you're now seeing on screen, it worked, and we stuck the RX 460 in it, and that's what we used to benchmark today. So, yeah, I mean, we've got a couple of older games to look at, so Skyrim, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but then, we've also thrown in a couple more modern titles to have a look. So, first up, now on the screen, you are seeing Skyrim. Now, obviously, this is an older game, but we're running it on a kind of period correct, I guess, TV. I mean, it's a 768p TV that we're running it on, just to, give the card a chance. So we're running Skyrim here in 1360 by 768 at the high settings, and we saw a solid frame rate of 60 FPS with 1% lows of 59 frames per second. Basically, it was a consistent 60 frames per second experience with very few stutters. It was actually really quite enjoyable to play because the TV is actually the resolution of the resolution of the TV matches the output resolution of the graphics card. We're actually seeing pretty good image clarity. It isn't too bad. I mean, I know 768p is quite a low resolution, but it's not awful on a 24-inch TV that's designed for it. So, yeah, Skyrim runs pretty well. Now, I did have a bit of a problem filming, I can't lie. I would have preferred to use the normal, desk monitor setup, but yeah, we had to change out for the little TV today just because there was no room in my office, to be honest, for this gigantic case. So, yeah, now we're running the RX 460 with an i5-12100F and 32GB of DDR5 RAM. Now, that might seem a bit excessive, but I just wanted to make sure there was no CPU bottleneck or anything going on that would limit the performance of our amazing graphics card we're looking at. So, Skyrim's still going, I think, on the screen. And yeah, so after Skyrim, we had a look at running Elden Ring, which was a bit of a surprise to me, because to be honest, with 2GB of VRAM, I was surprised it even launched. But in Elden Ring, we saw at 768p again, with the low preset, 37 frames per second with 1% lows of 21 FPS. And to be honest, the game was kind of playable. I mean, I know, again, it's going to look quite bad on the TV here that you're seeing. I wish I could have screen captured, but there was not with the RX 460. Probably could have, but yeah, it ran alright, to be honest. I mean, if you can cope with the resolution, this card can actually still run some games that are relatively modern, which to me was quite surprising. So, yeah. Now, I think these cards can be had for around £15. If you go on CX and stuff, I'm pretty sure that's the normal price, £15 to £20. And you know what? For a low power draw graphics card, I think it maxes out of 45 watts or 50 watts, that doesn't require any external power, and a cheap option just to get a PC gaming, it honestly isn't too bad. If you just want a graphics card to stick in an old Dell so you can play some Fortnite with your friends, or some CSGO, or some Rocket League, it'll do it, and it's kind of fine, to be honest. This could be a really good way to get a super cheap system going. I mean, again, I know today we're running at 768p. It's not exactly the best of tests for the hardware. Like, I guess people would be wanting to see at least 1080p, but realistically, it isn't realistic. So yeah, I think, as you're seeing on the screen here, Elden Ring was pretty playable, and I'm not gonna lie, I would have absolutely no problems playing Elden Ring like this. I think that might be the Xbox One speaking inside me from that time of just playing everything at 30 frames per second for like 7 years of my life. But yeah, I think honestly, go for it. If you of the cheap products we've looked at on this channel, so we've had the R9 280, we've had the GTX 560 Ti, and we've had, well, this. I can't lie, this might actually be the best of the under £20 graphics cards we've looked at, just because it draws basically no power, can be put in any system, and, well, it's running modern games somehow. So yeah, anyway, next up we have Fortnite. Now, I was running this again, 1366 by 768. We had it in DirectX 12 performance mode, epic view distance, everything else on the lowest settings, and somehow we saw an average frame rate of 215 FPS. Let that sink in. On a £15 graphics card, yes, alright, at 768p, you could be playing Fortnite at over 200 frames per second. I was surprised. Now, obviously, we have a pretty good processor in here, which probably wouldn't be realistic if you were sticking this graphics card in a system. But to be fair, I think as long as you've got maybe a 3rd or 4th gen i5 going, you'll be good. You're not going to bottleneck an RX 460 in most games. So yeah, I think if we go back to the point I was on about earlier of just trying to get that graphics card to bring an older office system or something like that to life so you can play some games, it genuinely is a viable option. Now, I think there was a 4GB version of the RX 460. If I just do a bit of Googling now, I believe that card might be the better option, but I'm not sure how much more money it cost. So yeah, there was a 4GB version, and on eBay it seems to be going for £40. What the hell? Yeah, don't pay £40 for one of these, even if it is the 4GB one. But yeah, it's kind of surprising actually that this was running. Now, again, 10p expectations if you bump up the 1080p, but to be fair, Fortnite was still running at above 120 FPS in performance mode with the epic view distance when I whacked the resolution up to 1080p, which, yeah, what more could you ask for? Now, the second to last game we tested was Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which was running at a lovely resolution, again, of 768p, there is a trend here, with the low preset. Now, the load times to go into the benchmark and to go into the game were obscenely long. I have no idea what was going on. It took like a solid 6 minutes for the benchmark to load. But when it did load, it ran. And at those low settings, at 768p, we saw an average frame rate of 61 FPS. Now, I'm not going to lie, it wasn't amazing, but it was playable. And I think that's all you can really ask for. I think all things considered in Shadow of the Tomb Raider here, running at 60 frames per second, yes, alright, it's at 768p, but only having a power draw of 47 watts, I think it topped out at 48 watts, is quite incredible. Anyway, now we have kind of the wild card here. I had no idea if this would run or not, but Cyberpunk 2077 here ran at, again, our favourite resolution, 768p, at the lowest preset with FSR quality enabled, and it hit 40 frames per second. Yes, right, it had 1% lows of 17 frames per second, I think, or 12. This is a 17 or 12. It was a bit stuttery, especially when you first launch the game. But after that, after a solid like 3 or 4 minutes of just letting it warm up, I think think that's a good descriptor. Warm up, yeah, sure, let's go with that. It was fine, it was playable. Yeah, driving around Night City, it's all right. And to be fair, as long as you fully anticipate the fact that it's going to stutter if you like go into a densely populated area, it's all right. It really is all right. So, I think to conclude here, or at least to wrap up about the RX 460, I don't think it is the worst Polaris GPU AMD made. Considering its power draw and considering you don't need any external power connectors for it, it's literally perfect if you just want to slap it in an office PC, as I have said over and over again throughout this video. And yeah, do that and enjoy it. I mean, if you temper your expectations, this card is perfectly usable in 2026. Yeah, it's not going to run any of the games that require ray tracing, obviously, but anything else, it kind of has a shout at running, especially if you pair it with a processor that's got a bit of headroom. So yeah, I actually think the worst Polaris GPU was probably the RX 590. A refresh of a refresh. It wasn't great, and it was overpriced. And of course, it was also my first graphics card. Well, it was the graphics card in my first PC. Fond memories, but it was just not very good. I'd like to get one of them again. That'd be good. Maybe take a look at our RX 590 in the next video, or a video to come. Yeah, sounds like a shout. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today, and I hope someone somewhere takes away a conclusion from this video that you can go out and get an RX 460 and actually still use it. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching and listening to me rambling on about the RX 460. And yeah, if you feel up for it, like and subscribe, and drop a comment and tell me why 768p should never be used as a resolution to run games at. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.